But then, remember in that verse where it says, come to me, all who are weary, he's teaching, he's telling them the truth. And this is really the part that the world misses when they think of, Jesus, he just really liked to party and hang out, right? And that's that's kind of the picture that the world presents of Jesus. Yeah, Jesus would have been the best guy at a party, man. You don't know Jesus, you don't know how to party. But the thing is that Jesus spoke the truth to these people, and he encouraged them to follow him. So an example of this is the woman at the well, right? And she would have been a woman, at first she's acting a little bit proud, and it takes a prophetic word to kind of cut to her heart. And then she becomes someone that humbles herself and then becomes an evangelist. And that's the other part, is that not only was Jesus speaking truth, which in that situation, he gave her actually a lot of really amazing revelation about worship, but also she became transformed from that. She actually became an evangelist, and she told her whole town, and they came to see Jesus because of what she said. He's connecting himself to these people. He's interceding for them on their behalf, but he's also speaking truth to them. He's rejoicing in the truth with them, and their lives are becoming transformed. So we also see this with Zacchaeus, right? He's a tax collector, but because he interacts with Jesus, all of a sudden he's going to change everything. Anyone that he cheated, he's going to return more than what he cheated them out of. And so we see this over and over again. Even the demon-possessed man who was crazy and really frightening a lot of people, when Jesus got a hold of him, he's not someone that anyone would have wanted to associate with, he became a person of sound mind. And it startled everyone when they saw that. It actually made them afraid when they saw how calm and of sound mind this man was. That is the weary. Now we're going to talk about the learners. So the weary are like the seekers, maybe people who they may not be following Jesus 24/7 the whole time, but they're coming to him humbly. The learners would be like the disciples, the people that traveled with him. So we see with Jesus and the learners, it's a little bit different than we might think what that meant. And we can see that he actually welcomed them into his life. Can someone read Luke 8? We'll read 1 through 3. Actually, 1 through 2.
Soon afterward, he went through cities and villages, proclaiming and bringing the good news of the kingdom of God. And the 12 were with him, and also some women who had been healed of evil spirits and infirmities, Mary, called Magdalene, from whom 7 demons had gone out.
So we see that Jesus is traveling about from one town and village to another, proclaiming the good news of the kingdom of God. And the 12 and all these women were with him, right? So this is actually a lot closer of an interaction than many of us kind of assume.
Discipleship is super cool. It's super fun. And it's what we like to base our lives on, and like the Christian connection and the growth of the church and what it's supposed to look like. So an idea that I picked up a long time ago, and I was talking to Jennifer, I can't remember where I saw this, but basically the idea of discipleship was seen much like an artist making a clay pot, right? So an artist makes a clay pot, and they kind of score it and they design it and they have the whole thing, and then they set up a bit of an assembly line, and they make the next one just like it in its image, right? And they make the next one just like it, and the next one just like it, so that it looks like and functions like the original. And that's the kind of idea of discipleship. And the way that you would become a disciple in the ancient world is you would start to follow these great leaders, these great Pharisees or Sadducees or whatever sect of Judaism you were in, and you would follow them along, and they would go different places, they would interact with different people, they would climb up to a mountaintop just to do it and then leave and not say anything, not do anything, not even engage the person because they haven't earned the right, they don't have the honor to be with them yet, waiting for the dropouts to get out. Now, once they get out, I know who really wants to be with me, right? So this is the idea of discipleship in the ancient world. And we see this with Socrates and Plato and Aristotle, so it's not a new idea to follow someone around and learn from them. We have internships and mentorships and things like that all over the place. But where we kind of fall off the wagon is we think of a trade. We go in and we train under a blacksmith and we learn what blacksmiths do, and then we leave. We don't learn how to talk like them or how to hang out like them or how to think like them or how to build like them. But that's what you would do if you were finding a mentor, a discipler. You would walk so closely to your master that the dust from his sandals would kick up and cover you. You would be covered in the trail of what he has left. You'd be in his wake. So that way you could see how he interacted with different people on different circumstances, and you could emulate it. And it would become a part of who you are and what you did. It wasn't just knowing what the master knew, it was being who the master was. And that's discipleship. So Paul says, as I am like Christ, you be like me. Right? He's not telling them to be like him. He's telling them to be like the original in the form and the function of the original. We're supposed to be image bearers of Christ, not just someone who studies Christ and can answer questions the way he would sometimes. Does that make sense? So we're called to live the life that Christ lived. A way that a pastor friend of mine put it is, we look at our bracelets, right? The old school 90s bracelets, what would Jesus do? And a better question, instead of what would Jesus do, is who would Jesus be? So if Jesus was in my situation, how would he handle it? If he was an engineer at this store or factory or company, how would he solve the problems and interact with his coworkers or whatever circumstance you're in? Does that make sense? So that's the idea of discipleship. It's less about knowing what they know, and it's more about being who they are by being so close and living all of your life with them, not just a section of your life with them.